Welcome back to the deep dive. We've just been digging through quite a bit of source material on Google I/O 2025.
Yeah, lots to unpack.
And it feels like this wasn't just, another event with small updates. The sources we have really frame it as a big shift, research hitting products super fast.
Mm-hmm. And driven by this idea they kept repeating, helpful everywhere.
Right. What exactly did the sources say that means?
Well, fundamentally, it's about removing friction, making things easier for you, the user. Whether you're like creating something, researching, building software, even just searching online.
Okay, less friction. So our goal today, using these source excerpts, is to unpack the key announcements. What do these new things actually do?
And what do they mean for you? How does this change how you maybe get stuff done or learn something quickly?
Exactly. How does all this Google AI stuff actually change what you can do?
Mm-hmm.
That's the core question, right?
That's the lens we need. And the sources, they really start with the foundation, the sheer scale of the new compute power.
Ah, yes. The hardware. They jump straight into some pretty wild numbers. We're talking the 7th gen Ironwood PPU pod.
That's the one. Pushing 42.5 exaflops, according to the sources.
42.5 exaflops, which, they point out, is 10 times last year's Silica.
10 times, yeah. That's the engine behind the Gemini 2.5 Pro model, which, powers a lot of the new stuff.
Okay, 10 times is obviously massive. But for someone actually using these tools, or maybe a developer, what does that power mean in practice?
That's the key bit, right? The sources stress the impact. They're promising a 40% lower inference cost across the whole AI suite.
40% cheaper to run.
Essentially, yes. For developers, it means they can run way more experiments for the same budget as last year.
Which means faster learning, faster tweaks.
Uh-huh.
So better features get to users like you much quicker.
Exactly. The sources call it a virtuous loop. This huge compute power isn't just a number. It's meant to speed up everything. Development, deployment, the works. It's the base layer.
Makes sense. But of course, building all this costs money. And the sources definitely covered the business side with the new subscription tiers.
Oh, yeah. They rolled out the Google AI Premium plan that stays at the old Gemini price, $20 a month.
Okay, familiar price point.
But then there's the Google AI Ultra plan, $250 a month.
$250, wow. That's quite a jump. Did the sources give context for that difference?
They did. Premium seems aimed at making the core AI accessible to lots of people. Pretty democratic,
Right.
Ultra, though, at that higher price, it's explicitly for people whose jobs rely on the absolute latest stuff, like bleeding-edge context windows or on-device agents, as one source put it, the pro users.
So the ultra folks are kind of funding the really cutting-edge research, the moonshots, which eventually might trickle down.
That seems to be the thinking, yeah. The sources mentioned the Ultra benefits list looked almost like a mini cloud contract. Makes sense for certain businesses or creator.
Okay, and we start seeing those benefits pop up in the creative tools, right? Video and image stuff.
Absolutely. Let's start with Flow. Google Flow AI video tool. The sources say it's more than just like a text-to-video toy.
How so?
They stress that it combines the video generation, that's VO3 AI video generator, with an audio pipeline, all in one go.
So you type a description, and you get video and sound together, not separate steps.
Exactly. Simultaneous video and audio creation.
And the sources mentioned a killer trick.
Ah, the scene builder, yeah. It's like a visual storyboard. You generate clips, then you just drag and drop them onto a timeline, trim them, change the order, like a built-in mini editor.
That sounds pretty intuitive. What kind of examples did they see?
Some cool ones, like stitching together clips of dancing cats and neon city streets into one coherent video. They listed potential uses to explainer videos, indie film help, even dynamic corporate stuff like visual financial dashboards.
Or reimagining online courses, like physics simulations.
Yeah, generating complex visual and audible simulations for MOOCs, making learning more engaging.
One source actually tried it right after the keynote.
Oh, yeah. What did they prompt?
Sunrise or Karachi Harbor, drone shot, gentle lo-fi track. Said they got 15 seconds that looked like professional stock footage.
Wow. Okay.
And then something totally different. First-person stroll through a cyberpunk alley. Got puddles, neon, synth audio that apparently swayed with the camera. Pretty neat.
So it sounds impressive even on day one, where there's glitches?
Oh, for sure. The source mentioned occasional weirdness, extra limbs on characters, audio drifting out of sync sometimes. But the overall feeling was astonishment for a brand new Ultra feature. They expected to top Best AI Video Tools 2025 lists.
Understandable. And Flow wasn't the only creative tool update, right? Imagen 4.
Right, the Imagen 4 AI image generator. The big headline there was text.
Better text generation in images, finally.
Seems like it. The source said no more mangled logos.
Uh-huh.
They prompted for binary verse AI and brushed steel text over a circuit board.
Mm.
Got crisp, readable letters first try. Felt like it matched or beat other models on text, finally.
That's a big deal for practical uses.
And there was that interesting fusion thing, too, connecting Imagen and Flow.
Right. An optional fusion prompt. You could generate a still image with Imagen, get it perfect, and then use that image as a seed, a starting point for a video template in Flow.
So turn your static creations into motion graphics more easily. That's a smart link.
Very powerful connection between the tools.
Okay, moving on from making new stuff to understanding existing stuff.
Yeah.
Deep knowledge and research tools. This feels huge for anyone drowning in documents.
Totally. Gemini Deep Research was a highlight here, designed specifically, the sources say, to chew through multi-PDF bundles while keeping citations intact.
Keeping citations intact. That's key for actual research, isn't it? Not just summarizing.
Absolutely. It's about interacting with a body of work, knowing where the info came from.
What were the examples? I remember something about solar cells.
Yeah, uploading, say, a bunch of research papers on perovskite solar cells, plus maybe an investor report. Deep Research could summarize the state of the art, flag funding gaps mentioned across the docs, even build a timeline.
It's pretty sophisticated analysis.
Yeah. Or another one, mixing joint pain studies, therapy guides, and personal kite surfing injury logs.
A real-world messy mix of data.
Exactly. And the source contrasted the output. A generic model might give generic advice. Deep Research supposedly gave a sport-specific rehab plan, referencing loads from kite control mentioned in the logs. The output spoke for itself.
Showing it actually understood the connections. And Notebook LM got an upgrade, too. People use that for organizing notes.
Big upgrade. It's now a desktop app, and it caches your stuff offline.
Offline access. Nice.
You can drag whole folders of documents in, and it indexes them. Fast titles, headings, even bibliographies buried inside. Queries feel instant.
Why so fast? There was a tech reason, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's clever. It uses a small local AI model, like 4 billion parameters, right on your machine for the first quick search.
Ah, so the initial lookup is local.
Right. Only if you ask something really complex does it ping the big cloud Gemini model for refinement. That local piece makes it feel super snappy.
Instant access to your own knowledge base. Okay, let's switch gears to the builders, developers, people automating things.
Yeah, lots of focus here on smoothing out workflows. Canvas was a good example.
What's the concept there?
The sources describe it like having a document on one side and a live coding output on the other.
So you type instructions or code in one panel, and you see the result, like a web page or simulation, update instantly in the other panel.
Exactly. The standout demo was asking for a 3D solar system model. Canvas spat out the HTML, JavaScript shader code.
Right.
But instead of just code, it rendered the interactive 3D model right there. You tweak the code, the model changes instantly.
It's very different from just getting code snippets. The source contrasted it with getting just a static 2D SVG orbit from normal code generation.
Yeah, the dynamic interactive 3D model was the point. Great for rapid prototyping, visualizing ideas. The source thinks it'll definitely be on best AI tools for developers lists.
And Google's answer to things like Copilot, that was Jules.
Jules, yeah, pitched as a pair programming agent.
How does it work?
It connects to your code repos, looks at open issues, pull requests, even internal docs. Then it can suggest plans for new features, maybe even assign parts of the task to multiple sub-agents.
Multiple agents working together.
That's the idea. The demo the source saw sounded impressive. Jules migrating an old Flask API to Fast API.
Oh, wow. That's a common, often tedious task.
Right. And it supposedly did it all, updated docs, pushed passing tests, followed all the coding style rules.
Without complaining.
The source's quote was, "No drama, no droll commentary, just work done." And the surprise, it's apparently in the premium tier, not ultra.
Really? That's a powerful tool for $20 a month.
Interesting.
And for non-coding automation? Project Mariner.
Mariner is for teaching an agent your repetitive browser tasks. Clicks, typing, that kind of thing.
How do you teach it?
It has a teach mode. You just do the task once, say, entering invoice data from PDF into a web form. Mariner watches the underlying web stuff, DOM changes, keystrokes, network calls.
Okay.
Then it tries to generalize that sequence so it can replay the workflow automatically.
What kind of tasks do they show?
That invoice entry one. And another common one for bloggers or content creators. Grabbing data from Search Console, mixing it with an RFs export, then pasting it all into Notion. Okay, that's a multi-step, multi-app workflow. Did it work first time?
The source said the blogger one needed a couple of coaching rounds, correcting the agent, but it learned.
Makes sense. And that one is in the ultra tier.
Yeah, which seems logical given it's controlling your browser and potentially handling sensitive data, security implications.
Right. Which ties into that whole theme of AI just being everywhere, integrated, like the changes to search itself.
Yeah, the AI mode tab. That felt like a big shift.
Huge. Right next to the normal results, you toggle on AI mode and the page changes. It becomes more like a chat interface, but it's fused with the search results.
So you ask a question, get a synthesized answer, but crucially, with links back to the sources. Expandable citations.
Exactly. And more than that, it can apparently generate dynamic widgets right there. Graphs, Python outputs, charts based on your query and what it finds in the index.
The source called this potential self-cannibalization, right?
Right.
Because the ads get pushed aside in that AI view.
It's a gamble, for sure. Google seems to be betting that giving you a better, faster answer directly and keeping you in their ecosystem with these tools builds more long-term trust and engagement, even if it costs some immediate ad views.
What about for people creating content online? SEO implications.
Yeah, the source framed it as both a threat and a gift.
How so?
Threat because these answer panels might mean fewer clicks directly to websites. Gift because the algorithm feeding this AI mode seems to really value high-signal content.
High signal, meaning?
Like original research, first-hand benchmarks, unique code samples, deep analysis, stuff that's not just a thin rewrite of other pages.
So if you create truly original, valuable stuff, you might actually rank better in this AI mode.
That's the interpretation from the source. Their takeaway was pretty blunt. Quality wins again. Novel idea, right? Pushing back towards rewarding depth.
And this AI isn't just staying in the cloud or in search. It's coming to devices, too. Gemini Live on Pixel 9.
Right. The voice assistant gets eyes, essentially. It uses the camera.
What can it do?
Point your phone at, say, a broken tent pole, ask how to fix it, and it might suggest repair kits based on what it sees. Or point it at a chart on a web page in Chrome, ask about a specific number, and it could give you an explanation right there.
What about privacy with it seeing things?
Big emphasis on local processing. The source states that for these quick visual queries, the image analysis happens on the device. The snapshot images never leave the device.
Only complex stuff goes to the cloud.
Correct. If the local model can't handle it, then it gets sent up.
Okay. And another on-device thing was live translation in Meet.
Yeah, real-time low-latency translation also on device. And it apparently preserves the speaker's voice characteristics, which is kind of cool.
So less robotic. The source envisioned borderless stand-ups for global teams.
Exactly. Fluid conversations without needing dedicated translators or waiting for transcripts.
And the source connected this back to Flow, didn't they?
Yeah, thinking that if you combine this voice-preserving translation with Flow's ability to generate audio, maybe marketing teams or educators wouldn't need to hire different voice actors for every language in the future.
Interesting synergy. And the tech making this cloud-to-device stuff smoother. The hardware whisper.
That's what the source called it. Basically, a smaller, cut-down version of the big Ironwood TPU chip architecture is appearing in devices like Pixel 9, maybe the new Nest Hub.
So the chip in your phone shares architecture with the massive ones in the data center.
Pretty much. And that common architecture makes it way easier to take an AI model trained in the cloud and optimize it to run efficiently on your phone or smart display.
Less friction for developers deploying models.
Exactly. They build for the cloud, and there's a clearer path to get that same model running locally on millions of devices.
The source compared it to how AWS attracted web startups, providing a common platform.
Yeah, the idea is this hardware consistency could pull developers into Google's ecosystem, knowing their work is portable from cloud to edge.
Okay, stepping back. Looking at all these announcements together, what was the bigger picture, the main narrative that came through in the sources?
Coherence, that was the word used. Despite all the different tools, there seemed to be this one guiding principle. Each tool must compress a real workflow.
Compress a workflow.
Yeah, Flow compresses video production time. Deep Research compresses the time needed to understand dense documents. Canvas speeds up prototyping. Jules handles tedious coding tasks. Mariner automates clicks.
That focus.
Yeah.
And it probably helped people digest all the news, right? Not just a random list of features.
And the source felt people left energized, not just overloaded. And it helps explain that $250 ultra tier price, too.
How so? Let's revisit that cost through the workflow compression lens.
Well, the source did a WUF calculation for Flow, rendering, say, a 30-second 8K video clip with voice. Using Flow might cost a certain amount in tokens,
Okay.
but getting a human animator to do the equivalent could cost like $600 plus and take a week. So if you're a professional making even a few of those a month.
The Ultra subscription pays for itself pretty quickly by saving time and traditional costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's priced for people or studios where it directly replaces or drastically speeds up expensive, time-consuming work. It's a productivity multiplier.
Makes sense. What about impacts beyond business? Education came up.
Yeah, the idea of virtual science labs. Using Imagen 4 to make accurate images of chemistry glassware.
Yeah.
Canvas to simulate the reactions visually, maybe showing heat changes. And Flow to create videos of the whole process with sound effects.
So a safer, more accessible way to learn complex visual stuff. The source said, next best thing to a fume hood.
Pretty much, making complex learning more visual and interactive.
Now, the elephant in the room with AI regulation, deepfakes, all that. Did Google address it?
They did, proactively it seems. They released their Synth ID detector API publicly.
What does that do?
It's a tool that analyzes an image or video and gives a probability score on whether it's AI generated. It can also detect the invisible watermarks Google puts on its own generated content.
So trying to get ahead of the problem, provide tools for detection.
Yeah, framing it as helping steer sensible policy, not just waiting for rules to be imposed, building trust.
And the inevitable comparison, Google versus OpenAI. How did the sources frame that?
Less like a direct war, more like a relay race, as one source put it. There's a lot of talent moving between these labs, ideas cross-pollinating.
So one makes a leap, the other responds, and the whole field moves faster.
That's the idea, ultimately benefiting developers and users because innovation speeds up.
Any mention of the environmental side, the energy cost.
A brief nod. They mention things like adaptive inference using less power for simpler AI tasks and putting energy use metrics in developer dashboards.
So acknowledging the footprint, but maybe not a full solution yet.
Seems that way. A step towards awareness, at least.
So after processing all this, the generative tools, the research aids, the developer tools, the integrations, what kind of concrete ideas did the source material spark? Like, what could you build with this?
They listed a few interesting ones. A learning portal using Canvas for interactions and Flow for video explanations.
Okay.
A tool for podcasters that automatically generates B-roll video footage using Flow VO3 based on the audio transcript.
Oh, that's clever.
A personal finance bot using Deep Research to analyze investment reports or tax docs. Or even a small software business built around Project Mariner automating something tedious like invoice entry.
And the key point about these ideas.
Is that things which might have needed a whole team before. Maybe now a single engineer could get a rough prototype working by, like, Friday.
That compression of effort again.
Exactly. It all comes back to that theme from the event. Helpful, agentic, for everyone.
So wrapping up, the big message from I/O 2025 based on these sources isn't just new toys. It's this blueprint for AI becoming a kind of invisible assistant layer, helping with almost any task.
Yeah, and the real value comes, as the source put it, the moment it fades into the background and the work itself shines, when you're focused on your task, not fighting the tool.
Okay, so for you listening, what does this prompt? Think about those repetitive tasks you hate, the research that takes forever, the creative ideas you haven't started because they feel too big.
How could these tools, the deep research, the automation agents, the fast content creation, let you focus more on the core work, the creativity, the strategy?
Right. What annoying workflow in your own life could you point one of these tools at? Maybe just start there. Let usefulness be your guide.